Lord, I need your rain to put out this fire. I'm tired of the pain. That's why I need you to pour out on me, extinguish the flames and save me from myself. Lord, I need your rain to put out this fire.
Australians are fighting for their lives as bushfires rage towards towns across 3 states.
Victoria is in the grip of a crisis.
Victoria's southeast region is hellish.
This is just one of so many fires that continue to burn.
And it has engulfed the entire bush.
The number of fires and the size of the fire edge is unprecedented.
Homes and lives are under threat, with dozens of communities being evacuated. And the sheer scale of it is staggering. Never before have we seen bushfires like this.
Just a foretaste of what we're expecting in the next couple of days.
For another wave of dangerous weather.
Wairewa, a small town in East Gippsland, was hit hard. He escaped Sarsfield just before flames ripped through.
Lakes Entrance was a ghost town. Many will be shifted out of Mallacoota via military helicopter.
These cruel and unrelenting fires burned across the state. First it was yellow, it went to an orange, then a red, and then pitch black.
The roads to safety are gridlocked as locals and tourists flee.
Too late to leave. We have to seek shelter at the local hall.
4,000 people are still stranded, and the death toll keeps rising and rising.
Multiple houses under threat. We need units now, and we need them now. Give me everything you got.
The remains of hundreds of homes and properties lay eerily quiet across thousands of hectares. As the dust settles around some of the areas worst hit, incredible stories of survival have begun to emerge.
It started coming through here and I've never seen anything or heard anything like it.
200 foot high, as wide as you can see. It was just like a wall of fireflies coming at you.
I realised how serious it was when all the smoke started coming through.
The fire won't discriminate on who you are, where you are, or what you are. If you're in this road, it's going to eat you.
It was like bombs were going off, but it was just the trees exploding around us.
We were worried because there was just a big circle of like the fire was like joining up and it was gonna like lock heaps of people in that stayed.
Embers the size of 10 and 50-cent pieces just bouncing off the house and sheds.
Doesn't matter how prepared you are, when that sort of catastrophe is coming at you, it's monumental.
Lots and lots of different feelings. Because it was Christmas, I was supposed to just spend it with my family, but because of the fires, we had to leave, and then that's when it got really bad.
The fires started in November, so we were fighting them then. They retreated into the bush with the wind, and then when they came back, it was with a vengeance. My name's Craig Calvert. I'm the 6th generation dairy farmer. I have 4 girls and a wife, so they'll be the 7th generation. We're in a small place called Wisley in East Gippsland, Australia.
Craig and I were milking our cows and we could see the plumes of smoke developing over behind me. We literally turned the pump off, quick clean, and we raced up here and it was all a go.
You could see it coming. It was worrying,
We sat there, we could see it was coming around about 30, 40 kilometres an hour. It was just roaring at us.
The way the wind was going, we were in direct line, so we knew it was either going to be close or it was going to hit us. So, yeah, it makes you pretty anxious. And seeing that plume of smoke on how big it was, you knew we were going to be in for hell.
There were so many different sounds, but you could just hear explosions and helicopter sirens and firefighter trucks and just people yelling everywhere. You know, Craig said, "Are you sure you want to be here? I'm going to yell at you and tell you off and tell you what to do." And I said, "Yes, I need to be here and help you." The least I could do is just milk the cows while he did what he had to do with the fire or whatnot.
Everyone had to leave and just Mum and Dad had to stay there. It was really, really upsetting and really worrying.
My biggest fear was probably Mum and Dad's safety, because if the house burnt down, we could rebuild the house, but you can't rebuild a person.
The issue with fires and when a fire front comes and it's a catastrophic day and all the rest of it, you really haven't got time to sit down and analyse things intently. You're bouncing off that last decision that you made, and that's putting out that fire over there, and oh no, this one's picking up here, I've got to go and do that one there. You just got to be where the heat at the moment is.
When it came over the gullies, it was jumping, I don't know, probably 500-600 metres, flying over the hills and splashing onto the other side of the hill and take off again. Where my grandmother's house was, it actually got hit from about 4 or 5 different ways.
I thought I was going to die. I really did. I've never experienced anything like that in my life.
It was scary because we've always seen that house as our home, and to see it on fire was just scary because we didn't think we had a place to live.
I got 7 hours sleep in a week. You just, run ragged. Just drain. As the fire rolled over the hill, we could see from our dairy behind our house and a property up the hill. And we hung the cups up at 5:35, and within 15 minutes of letting the cows out, we were on the ground fighting it.
We packed up our girls and sent them into town. They were there for about a week before the actual big fire came through.
The initial brunt was a canopy fire. It was probably in the vicinity of 70, 80, and when it really flared up, probably 120 foot high in the air, it was just rolling across the tops of the trees.
It was racing up the highway right to our house, and we were down the road trying to get help, but everything had been called off.
And if you're there behind the fire front within 10 minutes, you've got to stand a chance of being able to put your house out, because it was alight. There was fires all around it.
I remember hiding behind the ute thinking, it's all just going to blow up. Our whole house, we have petrol tanks there, and I was like, this is not going to end well.
It was about 6 o'clock when Mum posted a Facebook Live, and that's when it was bad.
And I was watching that and I had a panic attack and still couldn't see Mum and Dad because all you could see was smoke and fire at my house, so I just thought that it would have burned down.
You're right, Bob. It's a bit hard, Bob, isn't it? It was a bit hard seeing stuff on Facebook going on and the flames and the red horizon and the smoke pouring out of where we lived, and no, Mum and Dad were underneath that. It's okay.
We survived the night and we were driving just to check on people, and because it really put life into perspective. Yeah, it felt like we were at war.
We couldn't stop it. You couldn't stop it. We fought the fires for, it was 13 and a half hours, and it was very intense. It got to the point where I was laying on my back underneath the smoke layer, fighting the fire. At about 1:30 in the morning, it was very calm. It was sort of the calm before the storm. The main fire fronts had passed, and it was an eerie quiet.
The wind changed at about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I literally thought I was in a Star Wars movie. There was just red speckles going everywhere, and I said to Craig, I said, I have to go.
I rang a friend to come and get my wife Celeste, because when that wind changed, it come back really hard. Just give me a minute.
There's no way in hell that I want my kids to be orphaned. They need one parent alive. So I had to leave.
I was by myself there for a fair while. I wasn't scared at the time. It did affect me later on.
There was no phone coverage, so I couldn't call him or anything. I tried to sleep. I just laid there, and I got up a few times and I couldn't find him. Couldn't get hold of him. So I just had to wait.
It was pretty busy. Yeah, you're on around the house, over the top of the house and under it, and it just didn't let up. It just kept coming back, so it wasn't just like one fire front and it was over. Yeah, she kept coming. So the fire swung around behind the house and was coming over the hill into a small little township called Wiseley. I got a lot of friends with houses over there, so I wanted to get that out, but I'd ran out of water. So I ripped a gate off the hinges and dragged it over the fire behind the car, and then blacked it out.
How we didn't lose more shedding, how we didn't lose the house, how we didn't lose any of the hay that we had on store, I don't know.
We saved our houses, but there's about 8 or 9 houses upstream of our gully. They're all dust. Everyone else lost everything.
6 or 7 in the morning, he'd been awake all night. Not only was he saving our house, he was driving around, putting out other people's property, and just gave him a big hug and felt so much better.
We all ran up to Mum's car and just started hugging her. When we looked over the front seat, there was our cat there too. So we had our cat as well as our 2 dogs and Mum.
Seeing the girls the next day was just, I can't describe it. Just heart just started racing, and the girls just all, just hugged us ever so tightly.
Yeah, they're just so brave. We wouldn't have a house without them. I'm very proud of them, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very happy that they got to come back to us. Because some other people didn't get to keep their houses, and other people died in other places saving their house, so I'm very happy that they came back.
We lost a few sheds and machinery, but we didn't lose our house, or Nan's house, or Mum, Dad.
It was just good to see their smiling faces in such a dark time for a lot of people. With everything that's happened this year, there's a huge cry for help with mental health for people in our region, especially our farmers. They're doing it really tough. Drought, bushfires, COVID-19.
driving through the communities who've lost houses, and you're driving past it 2 or 3 days a week. Every time I drove into that, my heart sank. It was tough.
Coming out of the drought and then getting hit by that puts us back probably, a good 3 years from where we thought we'd be now.
And weeks after the event, after the trauma, there's still no escape. It's just hammering away at your psyche the whole time.
Farmers go through a lot with depression, and you never finish the job when you go home, like it's always more to do.
We work by ourselves day in, day out. The jobs always stack up. You could work 24 hours a day every day of the year and you still wouldn't be on top of the jobs. We don't always get it right, and you get frustrated, you get angry, you get demoralised by the conditions that you're getting left with. But it's how you cope with them.
It was one of those things where that doesn't go away quickly. You're both mentally scarred out of it, but you're still a family and you still try and pull that together.
Resilience can be a really good thing, but it can also be detrimental because, you can keep getting up and dusting yourself off and keep moving forward, but eventually you've got to stop and take stock. I ended up staying with Craig on his farm, and it was weeks after the fire, but really empathised with what he'd been going through.
It just, the drought, then the fire, and you've got to start all over again.
Seeing his resilience and bouncing back and how he was helping those around him, I admired what Craig was doing, but I was also concerned that he wasn't doing enough for himself.
Farmers don't like to receive help. They like to do it on their own, but sometimes you just can't. As far as the mental side goes, it is very debilitating. I was very overwhelmed with the support that I received. I think it's a team effort. You just got to really help each other out.
There's that whole stigma around mental health, and I think it's about time we start breaking down those boundaries. Men don't cry, and men are tough, and this sort of stuff. Men are men, women are women. We all have the same heartache or mental issues. There's no shame in asking for help or talking. Talking helps.
If everyone just does a little bit, it makes a big problem a lot easier to deal with. We've got farmers that are having to shoot all their stock and things like that, and then we don't want them doing something silly to himself afterwards. So we need to back those people up.
We've all got our little cross to bear and our problems to solve and all the rest of it. You just got to get behind each other and try and lift yourself out by your bootlaces, do the best you can.
And just let them know that they're not by themselves. We all go through the same thing. And we can sort of have a bit of a shoulder for each other.
Those green shoots coming out of the trees and the resilience of the bush to bounce back, I think, the sign of hope that things will get back to normal at some stage.
Whatever your way is, you've got to get it out to be able to move forward successfully. It's not like that forever.
The real heroes in Australia after the event, it's those people who come out of the woodwork and help you when you need it most.
A simple conversation, a pull up at a front fence can change someone's day.
When you're under the pump and you're in your own little world alone and someone turns up to help, it's just brilliant, the psychological advantage spurs you on to be able to keep going.
Being kind and helping other people always comes back when you need it most.
Caring for fellow humans and just that outpouring of love is really important. And if we can replicate that, the world will be a better place.
Just puts everything back into perspective, how quickly things can be taken out of your control and how things were done differently. Events like this could be avoided or less traumatic.
In my opinion, I do think that the bushfires could be far better managed.
Speaking from my Aboriginal history, I think it's an important step for our generations to learn from our First Nation people who have managed the bush for thousands of years.
And if we're allowed to do our prescribed burning a little bit here and there, you're not going to get the impact that we've had this season.
That power of humanity and helping people is one of the real big lessons that we can learn, you know, being connected to your community and making sure you're not just living in your isolated bubble and caring for others.
If you are a farmer that's struggling mentally, you've got to learn that there's better times on the horizon. It's not always going to be like that.
Just because we've been burnt out, we still have value as a person. We might be less fortunate, but we still have value.
You've got to be able to have a plan, talk about it, and have dreams to aspire to. We're bruised, we're battered, we're burnt, but we'll come back stronger and move forward.
Just the random acts of kindness, which I look at as far more heroic, they're more consistent. They're the people who make up Australia, and that's where the real Aussie spirit is. It just gives you faith in humanity.